Welcome to Hanover Park. I joined the Navy in 1981. At the time I joined, I was 17, was in a delayed entry program. So as soon as I graduated high school in that June, about 2 weeks after that is when I went to Great Lakes Naval Training Center. My first job in the Navy after I graduated from basic training, I was sent to what the Navy calls A school, where I was trained in aircraft maintenance. First ship I was on was the USS Saratoga, CV-60. It was out of Mayport, Florida. I had met the ship at sea because they had already deployed when I transferred to the ship. So it was a long period of flying, and then I was flown by helicopter to meet the ship with other naval personnel that were going on board that day. So I was fortunate when I was deployed to my ship that they had just come out of the Philadelphia Naval Yards. They were in there for repairs for about a year or so. So usually what they do is when a ship is repaired and they do some major changes on it, they do a deployment and they try to show it off a little bit, you know. They had taken the gun mounts, the turrets off of there and changed those into rocket systems and stuff like that. So yeah, so it was the ship I was on was built in 1959 in the Brooklyn Navy Yards. It was the last aircraft carrier built in Brooklyn. And so it did a tour of Vietnam. So it's a very it was a very honored ship. It had a lot of what they call Battle E awards and stuff like that. I do remember one time coming back from the Mediterranean, we actually went through Hurricane Bob for a few days, which was pretty rough. I remember before they sealed the ship up, I remember looking at some of the ships in our task force and watching them, you know, come up over the waves. We had about 40 to 50 foot swells out there, and I watched those ships come up over the swells and go down to the point where you could see their screws turning on the bottom of the ship in the air. So we had a few destroyers that took on some damage from that storm, and we took on some damage from that storm. So it's the first time that I was on that ship that you could really feel the ship moving. One time we were in the Mediterranean, we were in the Atlantic, and we had a Russian submarine that we detected not far from the aircraft carrier, and that stirred up a lot of issues because with the kind of sonar and things that we had, they weren't able to get that close to any American vessels. So, and then, you know, we always had the constant issue of the Russians following us from port to port. They'd follow us all the time with various like fishing vessels and small like cruise liners and things like that. So, you know, it was always cat and mouse with the Russians. So it was interesting to be part of that, you know, as what they call a Cold War vet, you know. But you do your time, and if you get called, you get called, and it is what it is, you know. So, but there was some interesting times. And then, you know, of course, you know, my mother was always concerned with what was going on, and she'd read things in the paper, and, you know, she'd get a little concerned, and, you know, but there was never a time that I felt that we couldn't handle whatever came at us. I would say probably one of my favorite memories was, you know, just we were at sea for, I think, 3 months, and then we anchored in Barcelona. And they gave us liberty in Barcelona, and we had a really, really good time there. So that'd probably be my favorite memory. I joined the Veterans Community because Mayor Craig and myself, we had known each other for a while, and we knew we were both Navy, ex-Navy, and the mayor wanted to get a committee started up as a mayor's initiative. And so he approached me and said, would you be willing to take this position? And up to that point, You know, I had gotten out of the Navy, I got my discharge, I got my VA loan for my home, started my family, and that's pretty much how it went, you know. So when the mayor asked me to do this, I was like, yeah, I could do that. And then what happened for me was that I realized how many needs there were for veterans in our community and surrounding communities. I didn't realize, you know, how much help some veterans really needed. So that really inspired me to get deeper into the committee. And of course, one of the objectives, because we had no place in town that honored veterans, we had no park or anything like that, was to get the plaza built.